Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Sleep In Saturday, everybody. It's our Sleep In Saturday. You get to sleep a couple extra hours in. Did you sleep in a little, Kastuba? Come on.
Not at all.
Come on! You slept in for a half hour more.
I've still got the jet lag thing going on.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Man, you're a sensitive guy. Mara, did you sleep in? You've been a little bit under the weather. Did you sleep
I'm
in?
still a little under the weather. I did sleep in today.
You sound under the weather, Mara.
Yeah.
I slept until 5:30 or 6. Maybe slept into 6. The new gentle Raghunath cares for his body and his wellness. Sometimes sleep is good. I used to be thoroughly anti-sleep, but I've changed. The Bhagavatam is changing me. So welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome if you're listening to this on Facebook. We do this once a Saturday, but we do this podcast, which is a study of the Srimad Bhagavatam every day, because if you want to change something, including your consciousness, you got to change. You got to do things on a regular basis. That is what is it called? It's called repetition is the mother of mastery, Kastuba.
Okay.
You like that?
Sure.
Make a t-shirt. And so today we're doing Q&A. It's our questions and answer. People writing questions. And if you have questions, you can write them in. wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Or you can also use that same address, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, to come live on Zoom. And otherwise, you can find this wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. That being said, any announcements, Miss Mara?
Yeah, we have Bhakti Recovery Group meeting today at 9:30 and Shloka memorization with Nityananda Chandra at 10 o'clock. Kastuba, do you want to talk a little bit about our guest for tomorrow's show?
We got a great guest for tomorrow. Really good guest. His devotion name is Brigupad Das. He's also known as Professor Mans Brew. He's a scholar of comparative religion and philosophy. And he's done a lot of really fascinating research into some of the important texts of our Bhakti tradition.
Ooh.
So he's also the husband of our regular Zoomer, Sargrahi Dasi. And so he'll be joining us tomorrow. You know, he's recently done this incredible research on an ancient, like a 500-year-old or so book called the Hari Bhakti Vilasa. Which is a book written by Sanatana Goswami, one of the most important figures in our lineage, direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya himself. And he's gone and he's researched this book in great detail. You know, he says he's held the handwritten texts by Sanatana Goswami himself, Raghunath.
Who's held it?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? You can hold these things.
Yeah.
They're real things. You can hold the original thing. And they're all written on palm leaves.
They're written on palm leaves. They're ancient, you know, somehow they've been preserved.
Unbelievable.
But, you know, it'll be a lot of fascinating questions because the Hari Bhakti Vilas was a book that Sanatana Goswami was Sri Chaitanya himself asked him to write books on this topic. It deals with a lot of understanding the purpose of how a bhakti yogi behaves and how they practice ritual in life. How to do it right and what the purpose of it is. And I think we'll get into topics like understanding like what is a temple all about, how does one benefit from it, and also questions about like the balance of a lot of what these ancient books talk about. It's like we're really not capable of living on that standard, so how important is it that we do, or is it just more important that we get to the very essence of it, or is it, may it be that different people land on different levels between those 2 points?
Really interested in this.
It's really
I got a
relevant
question
stuff.
for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes when very smart people come on the show, I get very intimidated, and oftentimes I say something stupid. Should I just shut up and let you interview him in fear of blurting out something dumb?
I'm not at all concerned about your blurting out something dumb, but I do think that generally, if you and I are pulling up both ends of a person, so I think one of us should probably take the helm and one of us can pipe in.
Maybe you should helmet, and I might
take the
just
helm.
mute myself.
Well, no,
or
you
something.
should be there. You'll have interesting.
No, I'm really interested. It's one of those. I get around smart people and I just say dumb. It brings out the dumbness in me. Although I will
Your
say,
smartness brings out the dumbness in me.
Although I will say, it's one of those things where I want to go, Mom, see, he's a professor and a Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
I get my mom on the show.
Well, and I think I've shared this on the show, but last year I was fortunate to be invited to take part in these Oxford, very exclusive Oxford studies. Remember that, right?
Yeah. They wouldn't allow me in. They wouldn't even allow me on the porch.
And he was one of the professors. And I just had a really great experience because, a lot of times when people from any spiritual tradition get into academia, the trend in academia was to attack their faith and just tear it down in a lot of,
right.
In really unbalanced ways. And a lot of times someone would come from our tradition, go into academia and just kind of, I don't know, get warped by it in certain ways. But what I was seeing was the professors that I was fortunate to hear from. I was really impressed with them. I was impressed with their scholarship, and the objectivity that they took to that scholarship. But I was also felt these were, evolved Vaishnavas. These are real bhakti yogis, with the depth of realization. He was one person that I really perceived that way. And that's why since then I wanted to invite him, and we got him this weekend.
Perfect. Excited for that.
Yeah,
all right. So maybe we should
tomorrow
just
at 8 a.m. Eastern.
Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Okay, great. And that's also going to be live on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's dive into our questions, Mr. Kostuba Das.
All right. Why don't you start it off?
All righty. Why don't you start it off?
Well, it's a question for me, so you got to read it to me.
Okay. All right. Something's gone terribly wrong with my computer. That's why I'm saying that.
You want me to read you your question first? I'll read you yours first.
Yeah. Yes. Let's
okay. So this is coming from Lauren T, also just known as Lore.
Okay. She's the new kid in town.
Yeah, she's at 19 years old from Pasadena, California.
Yeah.
And she wrote this via email. Mara, if people want to write in questions, how do they do that?
wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com.
Okay. Mary, you sound like you're barely hanging in.
Yeah, she is struggling.
Yeah.
She's struggling to survive here.
You got to go over there and take care of her. This is important. Are you bringing healthy soups and so on to her?
Mary, you tell him.
He's really good at caring for my spiritual life.
What? Wait a second. I thought I was helping you. You said I was doing good as a caretaker.
Caring for my spiritual life. That was a perfect answer.
Hey, that's very important too.
It is. It's very important.
Okay. Here it goes from Lauren T, 19 years old from Pasadena, California. This is a very tough question. I couldn't handle this. This is the kind of thing that falls well outside my realm, but I think you may have some good insights for this right now. Okay. She says, "Hey, Prabhus, thank you first and foremost for devoting such tremendous time and care to the podcast that you all do. It is truly appreciated, and I love hearing Wisdom of the Sages being part of my daily routine." Great. Thank you. My question is regarding friendship and righting wrongs.
Mhm.
Everyone, this is a friendship question.
Yeah. You don't feel like you're qualified for this?
Well, it's
Like, I have no
it-
friends.
no. This is a tough question. I sorrowfully admit that I cut a friend off pretty abruptly at the beginning of my true spiritual journey,
Hmm.
outside of esoteric or metaphysical learnings. When I started to get heavily into bhakti, that's something that people may do sometimes, right? Hey,
Yep.
I'm into this now.
Tell me about it.
I got a new focus. I'm cutting people off.
I cut everybody out.
Okay. Sometimes she is someone who I have known for 5 or so years. And when you're 19, that's like a big chunk of your life, right?
Yep.
For us, it's like 5 years, like nothing. But when you're 19 years old, 5 years is like, it's like a major thing. She's someone that I've known for 5 or so years, and we met in rehab while I was being treated for my eating disorders. So this is a very sensitive relationship, I'd imagine. We have been through a lot together, and at times I felt like we were trauma bonded due to the experiences we shared.
Sure.
We're trauma bonded from Parsippany, New Jersey. That's a pretty
This
good
is
name.
not funny, Kostuba. This is a very serious question. You're trying to
I
make a
know,
light
but I
joke
just
of
said it.
this.
Okay, excuse me, brother.
You're trying to
Okay.
like bring up a metal band using the same name.
I do think that
No.
would be a great name, the trauma bonded.
Can you please keep on focus today?
Yes, I will. Having to be
Unbelievable.
reminded again and again of the experiences we have both been through, which were once a means of our connection, threw me back into those trenches most times. Granted, I was still heavily attached to the identification with these experiences, especially with my mind and body.
Mm.
After great ego death and healing over the past year, a few months ago, I reached out to her, saying that I could no longer be a part of this friendship and continue to reopen wounds that we just could not heal collaboratively on. Okay.
Mm.
There were other reasons, like not feeling true friendship or reciprocation, but I still love her dearly and let her know that I truly wish her well. The falling out was not pretty, and she took it pretty hard, which I can understand, and I sent her prayers pretty much daily. A few months have passed, and I just received a phone call from her wanting to chat. It truly is a Krishna miracle in how it has come to fruition and has also come from both of our hearts to hopefully reconcile. Finally, my question. Ready?
Yep.
How do we make amends when we have wronged someone? How do we truly embody the well-wisher, even for our own wrongdoings? Thank you very much for your endless service, and I offer my obeisances. Much love and gratitude. From Lore.
Allure. Beautiful question. Because we're all ultimately on a spiritual journey ourselves. We get that. You know, it's not like my wife's going to save me, my kids are going to save me. We're on a spiritual journey ourselves, but really it's a community of friends, teachers, well-wishers that assist us on this journey. So friends are important. Matter of fact, we start to redefine what friendship is on a bhakti path. Sometimes we think, which is growing up in the material world, you think a guy that makes me laugh, we get together and we just laugh. That's my friend. It's a nice thing. But sometimes in perspective, looking back at my previous life, so to speak, in my teenage years, sometimes the laughing was degrading laughter. It would be about some type of degrading type of humor or some degrading thing we were doing. So in a spiritual friendship, the coming together of people should bring us higher. There should be laughter. I'm not saying don't laugh. Laugh. You and me, because we laugh all the time. Me and Mara, we laugh all the time. But it's stuff to bring us higher, I feel. And I was just talking to Mallory, who went as a brand new devotee on pilgrimage with me, and then she was with Indrajumna Swami and Chadaratma Prabhu and Bhattahari Prabhu, 3 very senior, sweet devotees that we love. And she said, because I was brand new, they invited me to have lunch with them. Like, even though they had the 200 people with them, they invited me to have lunch with them. And she said, to see the sweet relationships of these men, it was the most sort of heart shifting thing she could ever see. It really changed her, the quality of relationship. So we're always into upgrading. especially upgrading relationships. And sometimes in a neophyte stage, we say, I can't do this. Like, for example, if you are a new to recovery in alcoholism, and someone says, hey, let's go to a bar. You don't have to drink. I know you're an alcoholic, but maybe we can just have a lemonade. They'll go, no, I don't go to bars. I don't do that. We don't have to drink alcohol. You can just come to the bar. No. So sometimes lines in the sand must be drawn because we ourselves are too weak to engage with that person, place, or thing. Maybe this person was too triggering. We were too weak. We were not stable in who our new identity, my spiritual identity, was. And we had to make a cut. But if this person is going to be useful as a friend to walk hand in hand towards divinity, then that's a great, wonderful thing. But if all we have is to reminisce upon dark times, that's, I think sometimes, Kostuba, you and I, we might reminisce, but not like relish it. But we might think, man, how did we get here? How did we get here? We used to be there. We don't play the good old days with the past, and we don't even hang out with those tough times that much, unless it's meant to meditate on them to bring us higher. So friendship could have like a recollection of these times when you were struggling with addiction, etc. But to live there isn't necessarily good. So if this person can help you on your spiritual journey, then great. If not, sometimes I look at the universe as sending people to walk with me for some part of the trail. Just like if you were to hike on the Appalachian Trail, sometimes different people join you on that hike and then they disappear and a new person joins you. And then some person you're seeing from Maine to Georgia all the way down. You like the Appalachian Trail analogy, Kostuba? I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail one day, chanting the entire way. That's my goal.
Go for it. Now,
what do you think of that?
How can she make amends when she feels she's wronged this person?
Well, that just comes from being a steady friend. If this person is there for you, you become a steady. First of all, you fully own what you've done, perhaps with that explanation, and you understand the pain that you gave them. And how you can go forward to resurrecting it. First, what I've done, then what she must have been, what it must have been through for her, and trying to feel what she went through, and how you would like to resurrect a friendship. So that the apology for what you've done, and owning what you've done, understanding their grief and their pain, and maybe they may even want to share more grief, and then you have to hear that for them. And then you're saying, how can we go forward now? And then in Vaishnav culture, we have these three little magical things. One is you offer some prasad. You just don't offer food to a person. That's nice too. You cook something special with love for them and you give it to them. Two is you give them some little token, a heartfelt gift. Like Mara gave me that scarf that time. Remember that? That was such a heartfelt gift. She didn't want any money for it. She didn't want anything in return for it. She just wanted to give a gift, and that gift meant something for it, meant something so much more than someone to just buy me something, and then there also is being there for that person when they want to share their heart, and whatever they share with you, you keep in confidence. You don't blab it to other people. That's the foundation of friendships. Those three things.
No, I love that answer, Raghunath, because as I was reading that question, I was just thinking, there's so much conflict in this world and there's so much misunderstanding. It's really hard in this day and age to get beyond the misunderstanding. So I think I understand Laura's kind of thing here is just like, I'm trying to move forward on the spiritual path and I'm trying to heal in many different ways. And when I'm with this person, it brings, just even associating with this person brings my mind back to these very painful times. And I don't feel like I'm ready for that. I just can't. Yeah. And I think that just has to be, and these things, maybe when we're older, it's easier to express these things and to understand these things. Like if I'm 19 years old and someone just cut out on me like that, I just might not be able to understand it, even if it was explained well to me, But I think that's where the heart of this matter lies, is saying it's not because of you. It's you're a good person, and I'm fortunate to have you in my life, but it was just for that time being, it was hard for me to be around you.
You know,
Not
my
due to any fault of your own,
you
but
and
yeah.
sorry, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that's the heart of the issue, is helping this person understand that you don't hold anything against. It wasn't about her. It was about you and what you're going through. But I also really like the idea, and that's what you were saying, that opening one's heart and confidence. This is what I'm going through, and this is why it was so hard for me. I hope you can understand it. And I know that I did it abruptly, and I know that it must be very hard for you to understand. And I really apologize for that. That opening, sharing one's heart like that, that's essential. But the other two things you said, they can be done in ways that they really reinforce. Like you used the word token, but yeah, tokens can be important, and I want to give you this gift, as a token of my love for you, that can mean a lot to someone, you know. So I think that's really good advice. There's the heart to heart understanding, please understand, I feel bad about this and it's not your fault. Try to understand why I was in the place where I was at, and then some token of love, some gesture of love, and hopefully this can all work out.
I think there's two different types of people coming to bhakti. There's people like you and me who are just like, we're over with our old life, and we walk away from everybody and everything, and then years later we're left to like sort through it. Like, what relationships am I just never ever going back to, and what relationships are like, we can salvage this. And you and I did that. I cut my entire band. They were like my best friends. I was like, later, guys, I'm out of here. And it was just
never
like,
going to see you again.
I'll never see you again. And then, of course, years later, we figured it out.
Right.
Whereas someone like Mara, on the other hand, she's just sort of like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to add Krishna to my knitting life, to my chef life. And Krishna is a good thing. And I'm going to tell other people about Krishna. I'm going to tell all my friends about Krishna. And some people don't get it, but I'm still friends with them. Some people, I think you and I were like in distress mode, like, I can't take the material world. And we just walk away from everybody. And some people are like, they're mature. And they're like, I'm just going to bring Krishna into my life. And they're very balanced people. Here to those unbalanced. Sometimes we have to do extreme things.
Yeah, I have a feeling she's going to work it out. Laura seems like a sensitive person.
Yeah. I like this new Krishna consciousness 2.0, where people are getting into it just because it makes sense, not because they're like ready to lose their mind.
Right. Okay, Raga.
Okay, you want a question? I got one for you, sir.
Please.
And this is from Adela Zoomer. You may know we call Chapu.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriela Quanemo, aka Chapu, via email. We love Gabriela. She's been with us in retreats, and we love her company. She's sort of the pundit of the Zoom show. Whenever we're quoting a verse, she somehow miraculous gets the entire verse, puts it up on the message board.
Quickly.
We joke that she's vying for Mara's job. Mara jokes back saying, you can have it. She's like, I didn't even know what I was getting into. Buenos dias, de Dios familia. I thought this whole thing was going to be in Spanish. Haribo. A couple of weeks ago, a student from Caracas came to me with some ideas about his own practice that I will try to summarize.
Okay.
I understand that due to some complex situations of the Catholic Church, his perception of the church and religion are perhaps distorted to the point of being concepts that currently generate rejection. That's why divinity for him is represented by a sort of light with a certain color that is the origin of great teachers or gurus like Jesus and even our beloved Sri Krishna. There's like a depersonalization of God the Father. Maybe that makes sense, because sometimes we transferred over some authoritarian church dogma or ashram dogma to a human that maybe was less than noble in their behavior. And so we've given God a new definition of light, the source of everything. I get that. reading books by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada he has been alarmed, because he definitely does not recognize himself as a Mayavadi impersonalist. But certainly, and despite the fact that the Mahamantra generates a certain attraction in his heart, he does not identify with Krishna and God in general as a person. We have learned that bhakti processes are infallible and inherent in the soul, and also that by action of karma, samskaras, and mercy, we are prone in certain measures to engage in rebuilding our relationship with Krishna in this life and return home with him. But how would you help Ricky, understanding that he may not feel ready now to set foot in Krishna consciousness because he is comfortable with his concept of God, but somehow he is attracted to bhakti, the community, the teachings of our acharyas, and even Krishna? Gracias, gracias, gracias. Very good question.
Very good
And
question.
it's very relevant in the days where people are trying to like step away from what we know as contemporary religion, how we are raised, and sort of like yet not wanting to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, how can I still be spiritual here if not like connected to God? Like as I understand God, but what do you say?
Well, I think this is particularly relevant because people are attracted to spirituality in different ways, with different conceptions of what spirit means or what God means, or the absolute truth means. And if they're reading Srila Prabhupada's books, it can feel like, hold it. It's saying God is a person, and it's saying that, and it's kind of, Prabhupada will frame out like what the term he commonly uses is Mayavadis or impersonalists.
Yeah.
And straight out, like counter what they teach, right? So it can sound like he's like attacking this conception.
Yeah.
And it can be, I think the word she used was alarming. This
it
is
can
alarming.
sound almost like a fundamentalist. Like,
yeah,
why
am
is he
being
so
attacked here?
anti this?
Yeah. So let's try to get deeper into that. What is the real nature of the conflict here, or the differences in understanding? And this is, even you read about this in Radhanath Swami's book, The Journey Home, where he was meeting, these different sadhus, these different spiritual leaders in different ashrams in different places throughout India. And it seemed like, he could appreciate almost all of them and the way that they're living and much of their teachings. But it seemed like there was a disagreement amongst them, that some of them believed that God was a person, and some of them believed that God was an energy, a non-personal energy. And so he was trying to get to the bottom of that, and he couldn't get to it. And then in Vrindavan, he met Srila Prabhupada, and he placed this question to Srila Prabhupada. And in that, Srila Prabhupada, in his answer, Srila Prabhupada referred to one really super important verse. And if we focus in on this verse and what it's all about, it can really just, the pieces of the puzzle can snap into place. And why is it a puzzle? Because we have one incredible sage, Vyasadeva,
Yeah,
who writes so much literature that's appealing. It's directed to people on different levels of understanding. Right, so he's ready to speak to people that aren't ready for a personal conception of God, and he'll give so much information on that. So like when you get to the Upanishads, which are these very important texts, when you read them, it's not difficult to interpret them as if God is just an energy. Now there's definitely places in the Upanishads that speak different than that, but the general tone has a lot to do with, we are all the energy of God. Aham Brahmasmi. We are, and that's, or that'll be interpreted as, we are all God. We are all Brahman. We are all that spiritual energy, and Brahman is the ultimate, right? So ultimately, we are this. Although we temporarily seem to be in a form and moving through a certain world, all of this is illusion, and in the end, we just merge into that divine light. Now, that idea to a lot of people is very appealing, right? And the idea of a personal God, which later texts will speak about in great detail, that'll seem unappealing for whatever reason. I won't go into it now, but that'll seem unappealing. So but But although those two conclusions are different, everything leading up to those conclusions is very similar. Letting go of material attachments, analyzing that I'm not the body, on and on and on. Even the impersonalists, even those that believe that God has no personal form, they even worship different forms of God in order to elevate their consciousness. But they believe that ultimately you have to let go of that to come to the highest stage, right? Now, here's where the tension lies. Here's the verse that Srila Prabhupada brought up. He goes right to the second chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is the one text out of all of Vyasadev's texts, which is the key to understanding them all, right? Bhagavatam is just going to lay it out so that you can put all the pieces together. And what you have, and the way that it's its whole purpose, and it starts with these sages in the forest, and they all have different conceptions. And they turn to the sage that they feel is the most advanced amongst them, Sutta Goswami, and they're saying, you've read all of Vyasadeva's literature. You've read the Upanishads, you study them, you understand them better than us. You've read the Puranas and all the different, the entire, vast amount of his text. And you've been especially blessed because you're a humble, gentle, thoughtful disciple. You've been blessed to understand these texts in a very deep and thorough way. We're asking you, what leads to the highest good for all of mankind? What leads to the complete satisfaction of the soul? Is it the conception that there is no God and renouncing the things of this world? Is it being very dharmic in this world and enjoying the good things of this world? Or is it ultimately love the highest principle? Is it through love that the heart is completely satisfied? And is there a personal form of God that one can actually love, like really love? Is that the highest thing? So what Vyasadeva wants to do is frame out this question and say, hey, if you've been reading all my text, if you've been reading Upanishads and Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita and Puranas, and you're still confused about this, I get it, because I've been writing texts for different people on different levels. I'm going to reveal it all right now. I'm going to put it all in the context for you. And he comes out in that second chapter of Bhagavatam and he says, Savai Pungsa Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Urdhoksajay, that bhakti is the highest dharma for all mankind, right? And
I tell you, Kosuba, people want to fight this, but what you're saying is just so spelled out.
It's all spelled out.
If you're coming in from any other yogic path and you're confused, just hear this and if you just accept this, it will make so much sense. Or else you're going to fight it on every level.
Well, you see, he makes that point, and then he responds to the idea that isn't renunciation, and detachment, doesn't that go to the highest place? And he says, when you actually love, truly love, detachment from material things comes automatically. And then he addresses the idea of being very dharmic and religious and getting good karma from it. He says all of that dharmic activity, if it doesn't lead you to wanting to hear like a lover, right? If it doesn't lead you to have to the desire to hear about the form of Sri Krishna, then it's not taking you to the highest place.
Then even dharma is a waste of time. That's amazing.
He says
that
even
statement is so powerful.
It's a heavy statement.
It's a heavy statement. Even dharma. I mean, where else will you hear that in all the Vedic teachings? That your dharma is a waste of time. It's amazing.
Because here, and Vyasadeva is the one that wrote everything about dharma, but he's saying, don't misunderstand. I'm going to be really explicit now. Now, when you get to the 10th verse, so he starts on the 6th verse, and then when you get to the 10th verse, he says this. He says, life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification, right? You're not your body and you don't need external things to become happy. He says, one should desire only a healthy life. Like, let's keep things simple, right? We don't need so much. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. Let me take care of the needs of the body and so on. Since human life is meant for, and this is big, right?
Get ready. Are you kidding? There's a question of the year. Tell me, Kostuba. Tell me, what is the human life meant for?
He says it's meant for tattva jignasa, which means inquiring into the truth, right?
Oh,
And,
that's what
and
it's
it's
for.
yeah, and especially inquiring to the absolute truth. Like, what is that truth that's beyond the relativity of this world?
Don't you wish someone told us this as children?
What were we wasting time doing, right?
Wait,
Why
wait,
weren't they telling us
like here, let me tell you the meaning of life right now, okay?
this?
Okay.
So he says, human life is meant for inquiring into the absolute truth, tattva jignasa. He says nothing else should be the goal of one's works in this world, right? It shouldn't be getting the things of this world. It shouldn't be even relief from the material suffering of this world, which is the goal of the impersonalist, right? So
Bunch
then
of
the
dead ends. A
then
bunch
the
of dead ends.
then the natural question would be, well, what is the absolute truth? Is it a
Mhm.
person? Is it an energy? What is that? What is it that lies beyond the relativity of this world? And then he gives this verse, and this verse is so important. And so he said that inquiring into tattva, inquiring into the absolute truth, is the most important thing. Then this next verse, Vedanti tattva, tattva vidas. Those who know tattva, right? Those who know tattva, learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth, call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan.
Mm.
So he's saying the absolute truth can be known. It's not a question of is it a person or an energy. It's a person and an energy, right? It's like as well as a localized aspect called Paramatma. So it's saying he's saying that it's non-dual. It's kind of like this. Let's say I made a pizza, right? Raghunath comes into my
This is
house.
going to be a good analogy.
Okay.
Let's go.
Raghunath comes into my house, and as soon as he walks into the house, there's an aroma, right?
Mm.
In the house. And he's like,
By the way, this happened yesterday when I got home. Moses made pizza.
okay. So you're like,
That's exactly what happened. I was
as
like,
soon as
what's going
there's an
on?
aroma. So the aroma is one feature of the pizza, and it's pleasing, it's satisfying itself, right? Just like you ever walk by, I mean, to this day, because we grew up around pizzerias, right?
You
But
and
I don't
me?
eat
Yep,
in
we
any of
did.
them. But when I
I know,
walk
me
past
neither.
them, it's like, oh man. Right. And so you step in and you experience one feature of the pizza, the aroma. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's more to the pizza than that.
The smell of vegan cheese
and
baking under the hot oven.
then you come in further and you actually see the pizza on the table.
The
Right?
gluten-free crust made from cauliflower.
Now,
What the
hear
hell
me
has
out,
happened to
Raghunath,
us?
okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. so now you have not only seen it, but or I'm sorry, not only smelled it, but you've seen it. Now that's a second feature of the same pizza, right?
Right.
Not like these are separate things. It's not like the smell of the pizza isn't the pizza. It's not like the sight of the pizza isn't the pizza. But ultimately, you taste the pizza, right? And that's now you've through tasting it, you've seen it, you smelled it, and you also tasted. You have a more complete experience of what pizza is.
I get it.
So this verse that's saying Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan is saying this non-dual substance. These are all one. It is one divine, truth that is known as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, right? Krishna is Bhagavan. He is that personal feature of God. He manifests as Paramatma. He expands and becomes, he spreads his consciousness throughout the entire universe and maintains it and controls it through Paramatma. But he also manifests as energy, just pure energy, which is called Brahman, pure spiritual, eternal energy. We say that God is Satchit Ananda, eternal, conscious, and blissful.
Mm.
So that divine light that our friend Ricky is attracted to, there's no harm in being attracted to that. That's fine. That is one feature,
One and the same.
one feature of that one divine being. And then as far as his consciousness, that's manifested through Paramatma. He spreads his consciousness throughout the universe in the form of Lord Vishnu being within every atom, right?
How about this analogy, Kostub?
What?
I walk into your apartment and I love you more. It's not you. It's the energy of you that makes me feel this is Kostuba's place.
Yeah, there you go. In other words,
like that?
Brahman is is valuable because it is Krishna's energy, right? But if you don't know Krishna, you don't know that.
Right. So when I see your deities and your books, and I see, oh, this Kostuba loves this food. He bought some fresh fruit, and it's you. That apartment is you, but it's not you at the same time. But I can appreciate you
Okay.
through the apartment.
Right.
That's a
Right.
good analogy. I'm going to keep that.
Not bad. Okay. Hang on.
Came up with it.
So now after that verse, and by the way, it's within this chapter that Vyasadeva clarifies everything, and then the rest of the Bhagavatam is just like fluffing this out through story after story after story, right? But after he makes that point that what is the absolute truth? Well, the absolute truth can be understood in three ways, manifests in three ways: as impersonal energy, non-personal energy, as Paramam, as this consciousness spread everywhere in the form of Lord Vishnu, but also as Bhagavan, as Sri Krishna, as a beautiful human being, right? As a beautiful boy that you can love like a friend, that you can love even like as a romantic lover, that God is present in this way. This is very, and that this is not relative truth like all the other forms within the material world, that this is absolute truth, eternal, right? That's what he's saying. And then when he goes on from there, he's speaking about Bhagavan. You know, he says, the seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, like what the Jnana yogis have, what those that are interested in the impersonal energy have, knowledge, detachment, Jnana Vairagya, they realize the absolute truth by rendering devotional service through bhakti. In terms of what he's heard from the Vedanta Shruti. This is authorized. This is real. Don't think that these people are into something else. They're doing the authentic practice. And then he'll call this, from here on out, when he's referring to the absolute truth, he's saying Hari, or he's saying Bhagavan. He's talking about that ultimately the highest thing is the complete realization is found in the form of Krishna. So now here's the thing. So let's say that we accept what Vyasadeva has clarified here. We accept that, okay, the absolute truth manifests both as person as well as non-personal energy. Is it wrong to be attracted to the non-personal energy and to not have a connection to the personal form? Nothing wrong with that, right? And as a matter of fact, if you've deeply realized that that's a glorious thing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, but then why is Prabhupada attacking it, right? Not only Prabhupada, great bhakti yogi figures throughout history have attacked this. I mean, no one more, intensely than Madhvacharya, right? Who goes back like 800 years. Here's the point, is because it's one thing to say I'm attracted to one aspect of God and I'm not attracted to another part. But it's another thing to say that other part is not real. It's not absolute truth. I don't accept what Vyasadeva is saying here. I don't accept that any form can be absolute, right? All forms are temporary. All forms are limited. No, Vyasadeva is saying that there is form that's eternal and unlimited, and it is the form of Krishna. So I want to give one example of this. And this is a commentary on the work of Shankar called the Atma Bodha. Right? Shankar wrote a book called Shankar is the main proponent of Advaita Vedanta, which is the impersonalist school. And he Atma Bodha was one of his fundamental books, and this is commentary on that book written by Swami Nikhilananda.
Oh yeah.
And this is what he says. He says, Vedanta, meaning their non-personal understanding of Vedanta, declares that knowledge of the non-duality of Brahman and Atma. And let's be clear about what that means. He's saying that the knowledge that I am the Brahman effulgence myself, right? That each soul has no individuality in reality. That I am God, I am that all-pervading spiritual energy, that's who I am. He says Vedanta declares that knowledge of the non-duality of Brahman and Atma is the only true knowledge. All else is ignorance. Any trace of duality, meaning there's me and there's you, right? Any trace of duality belongs to the state of ignorance. Okay. So here's what we're talking about now is the difference between a Brahmavadi and a Mayavadi. A Brahmavadi means I'm attracted to the non-personal aspect of the supreme. That's fine. But a Mayavadi, literally what Mayavadi means, it means a proponent of Mayavada. Mayavada, Vada means like the doctrine, you could say. Maya doctrine, the Maya doctrine. What does the Maya doctrine mean? It means that they think that the form of Krishna is illusion, is Maya. It's not eternal, right? It's within the realm of ignorance ultimately. So if one accepts that, that means that love doesn't really exist. That in other words, there's no
It's just
two.
illusion.
There is love is an entire illusion, right?
Kastuba, is Mayavadi a pejorative, or do they call themselves Mayavadis?
It's commonly understood as a pejorative, although it doesn't need to be. It means that, here's what it means, right? It means that Maya means illusion. Vada means the doctrine, you could say, or the teachings. So and a Mayavadi means one who is a proponent of that, one who accepts that. So it's commonly used kind of in a pejorative way by people that are personalists, but
like us.
It's just kind of a factual.
You Mayavadi.
It's kind of
Don't
like
be such a Mayavadi.
So in any case, here's the point. Why
I'm going to call some people Mayavadis today.
Why is not only Srila Prabhupada, but so many important bhakti yogis, the historical figures in the past, why are they so vehemently picking apart Mayavadi, a presentation of Mayavada, is because it denies that God is a person. It denies what Vyasadeva is telling us right here when he was finally trying to clear everything up, right? So there's there's a difference. Brahmavadi means I'm attracted to this non-personal aspect. Mayavadi means I deny the personal aspect, which Vyasadeva is trying to establish in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and in so many places. And the idea being that if I don't believe that God can exist in a personal form, then or if I propound that, even when these books are saying that, then I'm denying them the truth of what's found in Vyasadeva's books. And so Prabhupada will come forward and say, no, that's not true. Look, you can read it right here on the page. Vyasadeva right here said it. Krishna is saying it in the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna will be saying in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will attack this in the Bhagavad Gita. And he'll use heavy language. If you go to 9th chapter, you go to 7th chapter, 7th chapter, like I think like text 11 and 12, 9th chapter, like text like 24 and 25. Krishna is using heavy language against this idea. He never attacks the Brahmavadi, but he attacks the Mayavada. He attacks the doctrine that says that his form is unreal, it's illusory, or that any form of quote unquote duality, any form of individuality is illusion. That is a problematic idea if you actually want to develop love. And so therefore it's that which Srila Prabhupada is speaking against. Now, getting back to the question is like, well, what about this person? Like, how do we, how can here's a person that's kind of associating with the bhakti yogis and saying, I like this. I like a lot of the philosophy here. It's improving my life and I like the people. That's great. Just be friendly with them, and of course, there's this example in Bhagavatam, real important example of the 4 Kumaras, the 4 Kumaras were super advanced on that Brahmavad level, right? They had let go of everything in the material world. They were totally detached.
What happened to them?
But they weren't denying that God has form. And then they finally had a division of Lord Vishnu, and they say just the...
And quiz before you tell. Quiz Mara. See if she knows.
This is the clue. Do you know what happened to them?
No.
They smelled something.
They smelled something that turned their heart into bhakti. What is that? Who knows? Put it on the message board.
Anybody got it?
No one got it. They smell the Tulsi leaves.
Tulsi leaves at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu.
Vivek
Right.
Prajapati got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just that was totally transformational. I think I may have the verse here. Let's see. When the breeze carrying the aroma of Tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu entered the nostrils of those sages, these were the most advanced Brahmavatis. They experienced a change both in body and mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. Right. So when I say the whole Bhagavatam is fluffing out this second chapter, this verse right here, this story and this verse are meant to directly go to that verse that we read earlier, right? That someone may be very advanced in in Brahman realization, and that's wonderful. Nothing wrong with that at all. But and no one's more advanced in that than these four Kumaras were. Right? They were such mystic yogis that they could remain in childlike bodies indefinitely, you know. But when they had that contact with the divine form, with Bhagavan, well, then they switched. They not switched exactly, but it's not like you switch from aroma to eating pizza, right? But you understand them both together. So their understanding became more complete. But I wanted to read this verse. This is from the 11th canto. And it's there's a phrase within this verse, Bhaktya Sanjayata Bhaktya, which means Sanjayata means like generates from. Bhakti generates from bhakti. And this is getting to the real question, like, how do we associate with this person? What can we do for them? The idea is, and I'll read this verse. It says, the devotees of the Lord constantly discuss the glories of the personality of Godhead among themselves, of Bhagavan, right? The devotees of Bhagavan, of the personal feature, discuss Bhagavan amongst themselves. Thus, they constantly remember the Lord and remind one another of his qualities and pastimes, right? Those are features of Bhagavan, pastimes, right? Brahman doesn't have pastimes. Bhagavan has pastimes, right? And qualities, right? In this way, by their devotion to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, the devotees please the personality of Godhead, who takes away from them everything inauspicious. Being purified of all impediments, the devotees awaken to pure love of God, and thus, even within this world, their spiritualized bodies exhibit symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, such as standing of the bodily hairs on end, right? Goosebumps. Right. So this is what one experiences in divine love, the deepest spiritual experiences. But how does it come? Bhaktya Sanjayata Bhaktya. It comes from associating with people that are that have bhakti. It's from one heart to another. So my recommendation is, if this person is saying like your conception of personal God is wrong and has an issue, then you have to discuss that. But if they're just like, I like this, but why is it speaking so heavily against this? Then you can explain, here's why, right? Because we believe that there's not only one, but there's three, right? God manifests in three ways. And so if someone's denying that, they're denying what Vyasadeva taught. They're denying that those highest spiritual experiences. And just be friends with the person. And if you do, bhakti comes from bhakti. It's likely that with time, that they will also begin to feel similar feelings. And people's mind. It said that when, I liked how it phrased that in that verse from third canto. This is third canto, 15th chapter, 43, text 43. When the breeze carrying the aroma of the Tulsi leaves from the toes of Lord Vishnu entered into the nostrils of those sages.
What's that from? What verse is that from? I mean, where is that from?
Third canto.
Third canto. Okay.
When Jai and Vijay were cursed, and
yeah,
four Kumars are these four little, they're ancient sages, but they're in little boy bodies, right? And
pretty cool.
And they're,
you can't make this stuff up.
They're on this
ancient sages that are little boys.
They're on this super high level of Brahman realization, but when that aroma enters their nostrils, they experience a change, both in body, like they're feeling devotional ecstasies in their body, and in mind. Their whole conception of the absolute truth expanded, right? Even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding, right? So it's the association of the Vaishnavas, it's the bhakti in the heart of the devotees that can touch a person like that. It sounds like a nice person, and I think we don't have to make them feel uncomfortable, but we can. Hopefully, we can explain to them why this topic is so important to a writer like Srila Prabhupada or to the other great teachers in this lineage, and it could be done without unnecessary confrontation, without ego. It can just be explained, in a nice way, and then that person's understanding hopefully can grow from that. So I hope that is helpful.
I thought that was helpful.
Okay.
All right.
Oh my God, we're out of time. We're over time. We only did 2 questions today.
Time flies when you're talking about impersonalism.
And personally.
Wow, everybody. So Facebook people, join us here every day. Usually we do it at 6 a.m., but if you're not doing it live with us on Zoom, you can just listen to us so you can binge listen to the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's fun, too. Sometimes we have a road trip to do. Sometimes we have, some things, whatever. We work in a toll booth, or whatever you are, where you can just listen to things over and over. Why not do something that's going to upgrade the consciousness? Why not that, right? So, go to wherever you get podcasts, subscribe for Wisdom of the Sages. It's a regular podcast. And thanks, everybody. We also have an incredible Wisdom of the Sages in Italy, but there's a secret I'm about to announce, but not till tomorrow. We're doing a Wisdom of the Sages retreat.
Is it secret?
He's going to kick it off with us. His Holiness Sachidananda Swami.
Yeah. Okay.
That's going to be happening. I can't even mention it, but I'll mention it tomorrow.
Okay.
And it's very, limited capacity, but it's going to be up at Super Soul Farm. I'm super excited about that.
Do you want to say when, or you don't want to say
I'm
that?
not going to say when yet. Not going to say when yet. But it's coming. And then, of course, Italy. And I had a nice talk with Radha Swami yesterday.
Now look at you.
Yes, I did. We talked all about you, Kastuba, and how you can improve yourself. Just kidding.
Improve myself.
Other wonderful.
I want to hear it. How can I improve myself?
Oh, it was great. It's inspirational. Yes.
I live to be corrected, Raghunath. Just not by you.
Anyway, a lot of great stuff happening this summer. Those are 2 Wisdom of the Sages things happening. Who's dancing around your house?
Dancing in your home, Mara?
I got Mallory here.
I got
She
There's
just
Mallory.
showed
a
up.
homeless woman in your house.
She's all
Mara.
healed up now. I haven't seen her like on healthy pegs
I
in
know,
a
on
long
2
time.
legs. So 2
What's
feet.
Mallory doing at your house? I thought she was
She
here.
just showed up because I'm sick. She brought some goodies.
Oh, wait a second. I'm getting made out to be this uncaring dude now.
You care for
I
her
thought I cared for you
spiritual
well when you were sick.
well-being.